the Super Bowl.
He goes for the deep shot. He's got a touchdown.
And Mahomes at bay.
The Tampa Bay Bucs, Super Bowl 55.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Bucs Banter podcast. I am your host, Colin Hallboom, joined as always by my co-hosts, Bo Danyard and Scott Capron. We are pumped up to be here. This is a live week one Bucs Banter podcast episode. We finally have regular season NFL football to discuss live on Bucs Report. That's all I'm going to open with tonight, boys. I want us to save every minute, every second we have to talk real live NFL football.
Hey, great call. Great to be back. Great to see people in the stands. It was an awesome day of games and an awesome Bucs game. Awesome Bucs win to kick us off on Thursday.
It kind of feels like you're a kid and you found out that Christmas was today, and also Christmas is an hour longer as well. It's like a 25-hour day.
Yeah,
we got that extra week of football to look forward to as well. So like we're looking at 17 more weeks of football ahead of us already. So yeah, let's go. I'm pumped.
But it's also like if you were able to gamble on who opened the next present, you know what I mean? Because you have the whole slate of games, and it's like, oh, what am I gonna do? It's like, oh, my sister's looking up that one. Yeah. Anyway,
who sets the lines at the Capron household on Christmas, Scott?
Oh, my mom is secretly a bookie, still is. She's been just raking in that. That minus 110, that juice on those present openings since we were like 4. So never.
It's a whiteboard instead of a Christmas tree.
Yeah, why stop now? Doesn't matter. Yeah. We're all in our 30s. Same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt.
Well, I think we all know where we need to start. We have not recorded since week one. Since the Bucs game on Thursday. So. Everyone watching this surely watched.
Feels like about 2 weeks ago. Sorry to interrupt, though, just because there's all the games yesterday. You know, the Thursday nighter always feels like it took place. So long ago. But yes,
totally. And I think a lot of Bucs fans weren't so comfortable with how close that game was and how it went. But we got the W. The Bucs got the W, and what a game it was. I mean, I think for a casual fan who had no investment in either of those two teams, that was a hell of a start to the NFL season.
It was just a fantastic. Well, I mean, entertaining, pretty sloppy on the penalty side, and to be fair, maybe a couple execution things. Like, I mean, we're going to get into all this, but missed kicks, the Godwin fumble, but from a just competitive game between two real teams to start off the year, I don't think you could ask for anything better. Is there a game that comes to mind, an opening night game that was in the last 5 to 10 years that was close to that? I was thinking about it yesterday, and I couldn't remember one. I mean, I also could have went and looked it up, but I don't remember actually watching one that was nearly that entertaining.
It was so wide open, so up and down.
Oh,
Dak.
yeah.
Dak, like, just way above. I think everyone kind of thought maybe he's a little bit rusty playing one of the best defenses in the league, but it was up and down from like the first whistle. It was awesome.
He was awesome.
Yeah.
And yeah, Cap, like I feel the same way. I feel like I'm generally underwhelmed with the actual product of football. And as you mentioned, it was a little bit sloppy at points, but plenty of points scored. You know, a lot of the big guys came to play, and Dak looked really sharp. So that was nice to see.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because we watched the game together, and watching it through a bit more of a Bucs lens with you and just the podcast in general, and then text Bodan the next day. It's like, hey, that game was insane, by the way. It wasn't just like this Bucs win. Like, Brady has to drive him down the field, and we're both like, yeah, I mean, it's going to happen. They're going to kick a field goal. But
way too much time, yeah.
Yeah, he still had to do it. Godwin fumbles into the end zone that would have iced the game. And it's just, oh, yeah. But it wasn't just like this Bucs win. It was an insane start to the NFL season.
Seriously. And anyone who is watching, please feel free to chime in while we're talking about it with your favorite or least favorite aspect of that game or any observations. We would love to hear what you have to say. In terms of some of my takeaways, I mean, one thing
let's hear it.
That was interesting, and I was very curious and I've talked about it, is just how much play action Leftwich would employ this season, and that you only use, so out of 50 pass attempts, they only went play action 6 times. Brady was 5 for 6 on each play action pass attempt.
Yeah.
And the one that was dropped was just a tailor-made easy catch for Fournette. So he would have been perfect. But 6 out of 50 attempts were play action, so only 12% of the time. So that was disappointing to me.
Yeah.
I mean, you're literally operating perfectly with play action. You got to mix it in there more. That's something I've been concerned about. They showed more. They showed a higher affinity, Leftwich anyway, of operating, more pre-snap movement and play action down the stretch last year, and it paid major dividends. Didn't do it. Lots of runs on first down, but they were getting at least 5 yards on some of those, so I was able to kind of live with it. But again, some of that offensive play calling is a little too predictable and a little too stubborn as far as I'm concerned. We'll see how that works.
Wait, I might jump in right there because I was just looking at the stats, and that was one of the shout outs I was going to give to Byron Leftwich was 24 first downs, and 22 of them were passing first downs, only 1 rushing first down. Like they knew where they were buttering the ball. So yeah, I was hoping they would go to a first play pass a little bit more often, but and like maybe you have a little bit better time of possession that way as well too. But yeah, I don't know. I was interested to see how Leftwich was calling that game from the start, because that's something we harped on him for last year, just between us. Yeah,
I think also it's kind of, Dallas is a pretty big variable here. Like, not a great defense. I think they knew they could kind of churn out a couple yards on first down and then still, they still move the ball super efficiently and effectively. But of course, you'd like to see more first down passing and that's not a nitpick. That's bigger than that, but they still scored 31 points. Easily could have been more like 38. I would always prefer to see Brady throw the ball on first down. I'm wondering if the lack of play action was because they knew their run game was only so much of a threat, and Dallas was just worried about the pass anyway. You know what I mean? So they didn't even bother. I don't know. Throwing Leftwich a bit of a bone here. Like I said, devil's advocate, I still would have liked to see more, but there's so many ways to go off of this. We can talk about the running backs now. We can talk. The first thing, let's just talk about Brady. Can we just talk about Brady? Because every year he plays, it's like the first game of the season. You kind of have to hold your breath a little bit that the drop off is coming, right? And he's fine. Like, he's going to be an excellent quarterback this year, right? I know it's crazy to say after one game, but you can see it. He looks fantastic.
I think we can just say he's going to be good for the rest of his career. Right. He's never going to be a bad quarterback. No, but it's insane now. Like, it's just the arm talent it's just unparalleled at this age. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, and he's 5 steps ahead of a defense, so he knows where the ball needs to go. But I'm just saying there's got to be, at this point, even a whatever 10th of a percentage point of worry that he's just not going to have it anymore. Because at some point, theoretically, that will happen. But clearly that was vanished. That is not the case. He was fantastic. I think, did he have 2 picks? One was a brutal tip, and then one was a heave into the end zone at the end of halftime. Yeah. So it's like not his fault at all.
Yes,
you could put the first pick on Lenny Fournette pretty easily.
Oh yeah. God, yes, that was awful. Yeah. Tapasio on YouTube. I'm bringing this up now because Cap, you just mentioned it. Yeah. I didn't like game planning and coaching. Also, the Bucs are not using all the skill position players they have. 6 wasted throws at the end of both halves, and the Hail Mary unnecessary. So what I said, I was watching with Cap. I was like, just even at least, like, I'm fine with the Hail Mary. I just don't like the pick on Brady's box score. I was like, throw in Gabbard, man. Throw in for the pass.
I don't know
Traskin,
quite how it works, but yeah, I actually agree.
That was just one thought I had. Chris Cole on Twitter says Vea is a beast. Vita Vea was an absolute problem. Like,
as the game went on, it was
He could be the best, like, true nose tackle in football, and he's getting that recognition now. Like, he was just on a mission, like, just embarrassing the Cowboys center. I forget his name.
But then doesn't it seem like after the game he went and worked a midnight to 8 a.m. shift, just picking up cinder blocks with his bare hands and moving them into a slightly different spot just for strength training? Like, what an absolute unit that guy is. Like, oh, he was amazing. He was so
we're
good.
gonna be talking about that front all year. I don't know anyone that's gonna be able to run on that front. There was a few of the third downs where it was Shaq Barrett, Sue, Vita Vea, JPP, and then in the gaps they put Levante David and Devin White. It was just like, okay, you have these 6 guys all rushing the quarterback. They know it's a passing down. How are you like? You're just not getting you're not getting more than 3 seconds on that front.
But in because everything is related in football, obviously, just shows you how good Dak was, right?
Yeah, he got rid of the ball quick, and not every quarterback can do that. We're gonna get to some of the quarterbacks who just holding the ball for too long, but Dak was unreal, and
Dak was fantastic.
That's what you needed to be to lose a close game to the Bucs. That's what the underlying thing was.
Sure.
For me. Was like that's the level of offense you need to come close to the Bucs.
Yeah, and similar to what I was saying about Brady, like Bucs fans, check. Brady looks fantastic. Offense moving the ball. That previous comment we had was not getting the ball to all the weapons. Well, when you have that many weapons, that's kind of just a numbers game, right? There's only so many downs. There's only so many times you're open. But I think, just a quick pivot to the Cowboys. I think the Cowboys fans, their quarterback franchise player is coming off of a horrific injury. He looked absolutely amazing. I don't think anyone thought their defense was going to be that great. They're going to have to win by outscoring people. And they had a great chance to beat the Super Bowl champs, right? So, that's one of those games similar to the Browns KC game, which we'll get into. Both teams are thinking, hey, we can definitely work with that going forward.
And like what you mentioned there about Bo talking about the various defensive fronts, like Leftwich wasted no time getting creative. Like he had Tryon Shoyinka, we'll just call him JTS. They had him rushing the passer on the first third down of the first defensive series of the game. Like I love that. Like
really fun to
get him in there.
Trot out there, yeah.
Right, having him in there, that was something that we've talked about plenty here on Bucs Report. So nice to see. I think I might have said Leftwich. I meant Bowles, obviously.
Bowles, obviously.
But Bowles wasting no time, not being afraid to use his new weapons. That's always fun.
It kind of felt like he was just like, okay, I want to see what the horses are like. I just want to see, just based off of talent alone, how quickly and how many different ways can I get to the quarterback. And it was impressive to say the least.
Yeah.
Ray Kennedy, one of Tampa's finest, a host here at Bucs Report, Cup of Ray, says thinks the game was a great wake-up call, says that on Facebook. Yeah, I agree, and there's nothing better than a wake-up call that's also a win.
Yeah, exactly.
So that was like my first question. I shared this with you guys beforehand, but like, are we more concerned about the Bucs defense, or was that just the best receiving core in the league?
Little concerned, I think, with the secondary.
Yeah.
Because that's a big you talked about Dak's ability to get rid of the ball quickly, because there were tons of pressures from the defensive front, right? The one sack they achieved is a little misleading because there was pressure all over the place. Shaq Barrett had a ton of pressures, as he always does, and he had their lone sack. The problem is those receivers were getting open way too easily. Great receivers, young secondary. I worry that Bucs fans, myself included, have maybe gotten a little too high on our secondary because of how well things went and kind of forgotten a lot of these players, when you break them down individually, do have a lot of room to grow. And of course, that goes for discussing them as a unit as well. That being said, last thing I want to get in before you boys jump in is Carlton Davis, though, was fantastic. Like, he graded out as the top, I think the second best cover corner, according to Pro Football Focus, of every DB out there this week one. He was lights out. So that's
great sign.
But an incredibly elite receiving core. You got to acknowledge that too.
Yeah.
So that's,
that was the thing with Carlton Davis, was like he had that grade even with dropping one of the picks that kind of fell into his lap as well too, right? So he was good all game, but I think losing SMB, losing Sean Murphy Bunting, that was concerning on basically like the first drive of the game?
I can't remember what drive it was.
First quarter.
I've been.
For
It was
sure.
it was early. It was early, and then you're already playing without Jordan Whitehead too. So I think we kind of even on our last episode, we kind of noted that the Bucs secondary, if there is a weakness of this defense by default, you just have to say it's the Bucs secondary just because of the youth that you guys have there. That you can kind of try to make them show their age. But yeah, now injury concerns going into week 2. Something just kind of jumped out at me on the screen for sure.
Yeah. And
sorry, Colin, if I could just circle back 1 second. It just, when you're playing the elite quarterback, that's the difference between pressures and actual sacks. You know what I mean? Like it's hard to do that extra thing and actually get the sack. You know what I mean? And actually end the play. But when you're playing against an elite quarterback who can not only get rid of the ball to avoid the negative play, but actually throw someone open or pick up a few yards as opposed to taking a bad sack, like that's the difference between the elite quarterbacks and the mediocre ones. And also just puts a star on. I mean, and that isn't a dig at Tampa. It's hard to do, but like those games when you actually get to the quarterback, they're just drive killers, right? And they were in his kitchen, but they didn't get to him enough. And I think that's what really extended a lot of Dallas drives. And just something to think about going forward.
For sure. I'm really not worried about the Bucs as a defense applying pressure. I'm just worried about the back end holding up long enough to let those guys do that.
Yeah, for sure. I just mean that's how, even with a great line, that's how a team can still score that many points, right? That's kind of what I'm getting at.
For sure. A great line needs help. It has to be a full unit effort, right? Because you can spoil a great front four, creating pressure all day if you can't hold up with the receivers. So you're right.
We just got a comment in from Chris Cole, a longtime listener for us. But Zeke picking up the blitz on that Thursday night, I was thoroughly impressed by him all game. Not just because I bet him over his rushing yards, which didn't come in when I was watching him really closely for that. But he was literally meeting Devin White in the hole, which I don't remember very many running backs doing a good job of doing that last year.
Yeah, I mean, you just have to sacrifice your body, and that shows that he's willing to commit suicide live on primetime television, and he did that, and he got up and played the next play. So I don't care how you got to do it. If you get in the way of Devin White coming at you full speed, like that shows commitment to protecting Dak. So I got to tip my hat to Zeke Elliott. It's a great point by Chris Cole.
And on the other end of that, just one last thing about the Bucs defense. Devin White in coverage, I was a little bit underwhelmed. I thought that he was going to take a leap from that part of his game. It almost feels like he just lets the tight end catch the ball because he knows he's going to tackle him like immediately. Whereas like I feel like he should be better at like knowing I can tip the ball away, or I can just defend this pass rather than defending the man. He seems like he's just defending the man way too often.
Yeah, I mean, I think he has so much going on, right? He's got the green dot on his helmet. So he especially first game of the year, a really, really solid offense with lots of weapons. I think I'm not too concerned about him developing in terms of that. I think it's more of a mental thing, but totally like valid. Like that is the biggest critique, really the only critique you can have about Devin White. So I want a bigger sample size before I start worrying about it too much, but I think that's a valid point to bring up. For sure. Ben Parrish on Facebook. AB looked good. Put his defenders on skates. What a great addition to Evans and Godwin. AB looked incredible. We've been all, I think, on the same page. Like not just my homer bias, but Bo and Cap have agreed that with a full off season, being with the same team, kind of reestablishing his credibility as a person first and foremost, as a teammate. And slowly doing it as a player over the course of last season, it just felt like AB was going to be back. Damn, he looked back. Like he was so sharp, so
fast,
footwork. Yeah. The one, I think it was in the first quarter, he had this one play where he basically fakes a slant, then just goes into a fade route and caught the ball from Brady, just like ultimate concentration, it coming over his shoulder, perfectly placed ball by Brady as well too. But yeah, he was on point all game and just literally embarrassing defenders out there with footwork alone. He's still crazy fast, but it's the footwork that's getting him open. The route running is unbelievable.
Absolutely. And then I don't know if you guys caught this. It was on that last drive. where the Bucs, got it done and Brady got it done. But it was a third down play call with like a minute 12 left or something. And video came out. I didn't notice it on the live broadcast, but you just see Brady. So he gets the call and then he looks at Leftwich and he just goes, no. I got to share it. I'll share it on Twitter. It's incredible.
I do see that.
And I just love to have a quarterback who is so confident, like who he can do that. You know what I'm saying? Like imagine Jameis tried to do that or something.
Well, that's what a preseason does, right? That's just the continuity of the team. Him just being able to step up and just be like, okay, even though he's Tom Brady last year, I don't think he was comfortable to do that in week 1.
Also, what would if Tom Brady couldn't play quarterback this week, but he got hired as an offensive coordinator, wouldn't he be like the 4th best coordinator in the league right now? Like, seriously, what else do you need to know?
Yeah.
I just mean, like, if there's anyone who could say that to Byron Leftwich, like, it's Tom effing Brady. It's like, we're not doing that. So get out of here, man.
Yeah.
And I also just like what I like about Tom Brady is like he's applauded as being like a coach and just such a supportive teammate. Like Bruce Arians has said, that's what jumped out at him the most, how great of a teammate he is, how willing he is to get to know the players on his team. But he's also at the same time, he seems to have this incredible understanding of there's also a line where if you cross him or do something that's going to compromise or jeopardize the success of the team, he doesn't care. He will call you out. Doesn't matter who you are, right? And Bruce Arians is the same way too. Any good leader should be. But just to see him do that, like last year when he called out Ryan Jensen in that Bears game, called out the whole O-line. Like,
that Bears game.
Yeah, we don't need to go there.
Yeah,
I like that he still has the tweak switch in him, right?
Yeah.
And he
definitely does.
He tweak switched it on a coach.
Yeah, he's trying to win.
Yeah, it was pretty spectacular.
Speaking of that O-line, Tristan Wirfs taking on DeMarcus Lawrence. That was fun to watch all game. They went back and forth a lot as well, too. DeMarcus Lawrence was probably the only person even putting a little bit of pressure on Brady. But Tristan Wirfs getting the better hand of him, just continuing that standout rookie year. I love watching Tristan Wirfs play.
And the way he did it too, like Scott, remember when we like rewound it to rewatch his that one, I forget the play and the time. Like it is a bit of a blur. I'm still cleaning up Capron's empties in my basement.
But, how dare you? How dare you?
But he literally it was a solar eclipse. Around the orbit, he orbited DeMarcus Lawrence the entire way around Brady. He was behind Brady and Brady just casually stepped.
Yeah. And I have a few points to make about that. It was 4 beers. All right, everyone. So just so we're clear here on the whole, there's fallen soldiers everywhere. The guy can't. No, I'm just the worst thing was crazy. A good rewind by our host, by the way, and he's so good, man. They just have so many guys. Like they're so deep. They're so balanced. They're good.
I can't believe we got this far without mentioning Gronk's name. Gronk was
amazing.
Prime Gronk.
Before we talk Gronk, though, the one thing I want to say that was nice to see is on the broadcast, the Sunday Night Football broadcast, where they show their positional rank according to Pro Football Focus. Of course, they're going to have that because Collinsworth is the one who started it. It was nice to see our second-year right tackle, number one out of
256 or whatever it was. I have no idea what the number, or actually it was like 36 or something like that. But
whatever. He's number one is the number that matters.
Number one, So
he's awesome.
He could easily he was one of the best. That was one of the best performances from an offensive lineman this week was Tristan Wirfs. I can't think of who else would really stand out to me, but maybe it's just I was watching Tristan Wirfs so closely. But yeah, he's really good.
Rashawn Slater
Slater's good too. Yeah. The Chargers O-line was really good too. I have a note on that.
But again, like O-lineman, it's more about the longevity of how they perform, the consistency.
Totally.
But it's still, you still see splash plays, right? We got to get Brandon Thorne on this podcast one day, man. We got to pick his mind. He's too good.
Please.
But yeah, sorry guys, please continue. I would love to hear your opinions, your unbiased opinions on Rob Gronkowski. Could he be like a fantasy sleeper this year? Because if week one is any indication, like he's on waiver wire some places on a position that's very shallow.
Anyone who gets red zone targets is worth having on a fantasy team because of how skewed it is towards touchdowns. Sorry, we're talking about fantasy now, but it's just so much more valuable. You have 2 catches for 8 yards and a touchdown. You're good to start. You know what I mean? Like, and that's what he could be. He's obviously has great hands. Down in the red zone, he doesn't need to be super athletic with his route running and like actually creating separation because he can just go up and get the ball, right? Like he's still a weapon down there. And I don't want to limit him to the red zone. He looked good all over the field on Thursday. But just in general, like if you just want to talk about that, then yeah.
Especially the red zone, though, because that second touchdown wasn't even a play for him. That's just I'm smart enough and I know Brady well enough that I see the coverage. I'm going to pretend to block and I'm just going to just take this seam right here. Brady saw it pre-snap. They didn't even need to lock eyes. Just Brady needed to see the coverage and he knew that's what Gronk was going to do. Awesome. Just to just see Gronk. Just like he seems so much more mature, so much more in control. He's not as like obviously the Pat stays where he's just that reckless. I can't be tackled downfield guy. Was unbelievable. But this version of Gronk is still highly productive. He could be very special this year.
You know, it could be the theme or the slogan of our podcast because it applies to the Gronk and Brady connection. Is you can't improv without rapport.
Yeah, no doubt.
Am I right or am I right?
I like that. And it's
true. You should know anything about us. This isn't a bunch of improv classes that got us here.
Somebody
we just have that report.
Somebody yell out a location. Hey, we're gonna do a bit of a scene here. Oh, I heard coffee shop. Yeah. No.
I've got a bit of slander though. This has been a love fest of the Bucs. So
that's why you're here. Let's hear it.
Yeah, let's get to it. So Mike Evans, how are we feeling?
Where are you?
The Mike Evans I remember. Is he hurt? Like what's going on?
No, he's not hurt. He's just an unselfish teammate who's willing to take double coverage and be a decoy if he needs to be for his other running mates to be successful, for whatever it takes for the team to win. And when they keep marching the ball down and his guys are having success, as you see if you watch the footage, he's up there jumping, celebrating Godwin's big game, even though Godwin had a couple mistakes. Same with AB. He's just a good teammate, man. It's the long haul. Evans will do whatever it takes. That's my my analysis. We can't overreact too much.
Counterpoint. Have more catches. You know what I mean? I mean, like let's call. No, I agree that there's only so much you can do if they're double covering you. I've always found it funny, like wide receiver production, considering it's almost solely based on when the quarterback throws you the ball. It's like, oh, yeah, so-and-so didn't have a good game. It's like, oh, really? Did you go down and break it down and they actually didn't get separation or weren't trying? Or was the ball just not thrown to them? Or was it not anywhere near them? And in this case, it's couldn't throw it to him because he was, double covered most of the night. I guess different defenses against them are going to pick their poison, try to take away one of their many guys. Dallas singled out Evans, and we'll see how that goes forward, Bo. I hope he's not hurt. I hope it was just literally what we're talking about. I think he's fine.
Yeah, it's an interesting one because he had, like, I think I'm looking at it right now, 6 targets, 3 catches. I know at least 2 of those were tip passes where line of sight just changed. He has a line of sight of the ball and it just takes a weird. There was one that was like tipped by a fingernail, and I thought he could have made a better play on the ball. That's kind of what I was about to get at. There was one where it was just barely tipped.
One. We're allowed to say that. All right.
Yeah, Mike Evans normally gets that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tough to. I don't even think like slow instant replay, slow mo can really give us a read on that. Like if a ball's tipped, I'm gonna give Mike Evans a pass.
Well, from your couch as an expert, I think he should have caught it. So take that for what it's all. I hear you. There's sometimes it's like, all right, literally it's like you're getting handcuffed. There's no way you're going to pick up on the ball in time.
Totally.
There was one where it almost, the ball actually moved almost not at all, but I know.
And he wasn't blanketed. I totally get what you're saying.
And I know any slight deflection affects it and it makes it harder. I'm just saying, I just thought he picked up on the ball late on that particular play.
And I'm surprised that he wasn't a little more productive. But again, it doesn't matter with this team, with this offense. For Gronk, Godwin, and AB all to have big games, like that's all that we need. So, and I truly believe that's what makes Mike Evans so special, so unique, based on the persona and the diva mentality that so often wide receiver ones in the NFL possess. Mike Evans is genuinely just a selfish teammate who wants to win. And
Selfless.
that's what I said.
He said selfish.
I said I meant selfless, but I think
Yeah, I know. I was trying to make sure you weren't calling Mike Evans selfish. I know that wasn't how it was coming across. I just
right. Anyway, okay, but yes, you're right. So anyway, I just love who he is as a character. I think his value on the team as one of the captains again on offense is important, and we'll see. Let's talk. We'll talk next week. We'll check in on Mike and see what he does then.
So, just big takeaways. Awesome game. They look relatively crisp, and then they get the nice 10 days to get into week 2 here against the inferior team with Atlanta, and I don't know, very solid start. Very solid start. I don't think you could ask for really much more. I mean,
well, I'll ask for something more. What about their running game? Who's the number one running back on this team? Because Lenny and Rojo both did not look good. They both produced turnovers. I'm putting that pick from Lenny, that pick from Brady on Lenny.
Yes,
Rojo fumbled the ball, which I'm sure Bruce Arians just absolutely loved and is going to give him a pass next week on. And then Gio comes in. Gio looked pretty good, I thought, but then when I was reading up on some of the post-game reactions, it sounds like there's some injury concerns with Gio going forward.
Yeah, he was questionable. He was questionable to play. So
yeah.
Initially, he was upgraded, but there was a lot of question marks about that. In terms of the Rojo Lenny situation, I mean, it's kind of frustrating because I feel like Lenny has a lot bigger leash than Rojo does in some ways. Like, as soon as Rojo makes a mistake, as we've said, Cap's sitting beside me, I'm like, well, we're not going to see much of Rojo anymore. And then all we see is pictures of him with his head down on the sideline. Then I thought that Lenny's drop there, or missed catch leading to a pick,
tip
was so egregious. It's just as bad as a fumble. Like Rojo Rojo got the ball punched out. Like, that's gonna happen at times. Like, how is one worse than the other? So I don't know, man. We'll see. I don't love. They're currently using so Lenny got the first drive, Rojo got the second. Like, I don't love that either. Like, I like to let a running back get into a bit of a rhythm personally. Like, I think you can almost take guys out of it when they go on, then they sit, then they go on.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I wouldn't.
Who knows what's going through Rojo's head too? Because it's just going to be a roller coaster for him. It feels like. Sorry, go ahead, Cap.
No, I was just going to say I wouldn't want to give up much positional value at other spots on their roster in order to upgrade at running back, because they won the Super Bowl with these guys last year. I like Clyde Edwards-Helaire, but let's face it, he's not going to be the focal point of the Chiefs offense, right? So it's not like a prereq to be a Super Bowl contender to have that bell cow guy. But I think that the Jones-Fournette combo, they're not similar, but they're almost too equal. And it's just going to bounce back and forth. And who's going to get this series? You almost wish you had like an 80% guy and a 20% guy or something like that. I don't want to say you want worse players, but just from a down allocation, how you want to do it. I don't know. That's not how I would do it personally with my running backs, but it works for them. And, they didn't have a great game. And, hopefully it's just as simple as that. And it's sharper as we go forward here. I just, I'm not a huge running back guy. I think you can kind of put anyone back there. So I like how they've used money for the rest of the roster and wouldn't want to change that, I guess, even though, they didn't play well.
Yeah.
That little spiel you just gave was really on point, actually. I think what you said about just kind of being in that awkward position where they're too, you said not too similar but too equally valuable or something, like
just too used similarly. Like, they're completely different styles of backs, but there's not one of them is way better than the other. You know what I mean? It's like, if you have two running backs, do you have one? I don't know.
And it's funny, like, there'll be games, I'm sure, where the two of them are both going to go close to 100 or one of them way over. And we're going to be like, what an absolute luxury to have two running backs.
Yeah. Because like Rojo will take one to the house from 65, and then Fournette will absolutely bury two guys on a 4-yard run near the end. And it's like, wow, to have both of those options is so, just to have that versatility in your backfield is fantastic. But it's just not how I would do it. And I don't know, Call, like you're the Bucs fan. What do you want to see? Like, who do you want to have out there? Do you want to like?
I like Rojo as a running back more.
Me too.
Do you trust him to catch a pass? Do you trust?
No,
do you trust the Lenny tip drill that came out? Rojo probably does the same thing, right?
Exactly. Lenny is a better receiver than Rojo, but not by enough that I'm like he's still not great at it. So I'd rather just a combo of Rojo and Gio Bernard, I think almost. But that's not. I don't want to sound like I'm hating on Lenny because like I love what he did, and when he's playing well, he's really excellent. But it's just a situation we're going to have to see play out. I want whoever's going to give us the best chance to win. So I think if you're running the ball, though, I want Rojo getting more of the carries if it's my team.
Last thing before we move on to like looking around the league. And I think this is the one where maybe I'm just like on an island for Godwin had a good game, but I think there was like a huge, like you play that game 10 times and there's like just such a huge variance between what we saw from Godwin, where I feel like last year he was such a consistent player. He had a drop last night, obviously, or Thursday night, I should say, at least one drop. I think he might have had 2 or more actually. And then the fumble, obviously, where you're basically icing the game, and it seemed like he could have went down, and he's just got greedy. And I know it's week 1, and maybe you just like to see that from your receiver, but how do you feel about him?
I feel like I love how you were being critical of him, and he had 9 receptions for 105 yards and a touchdown like that. And I'm not insulting you. I'm saying true. I like how those are the kind of standards he has because all game he's just creating mismatch issues. Like I love how Bruce moved him to the slot. He's just such a great route runner. He's such a complete receiver in so many ways. Like that fumble was brutal. Like, like that was tough.
It's like you have a kid who is like a straight A student, but they just like dinged your car when they parallel parked, basically. And you're just like, why did you do that? Like, I don't have anything else to complain about, but you could have really avoided that. And it was like the fumble, the drops, then also the turning point of the game, and I'm sure everybody's going to weigh in on this or waiting for us to weigh in on this, was offensive pass interference. Like from a completely like only thing I had on that game was Zeke's rushing yards and Brady to throw over 2.5 touchdowns, which he iced in the first half for me. So thank you, Tom Brady. But end of the game there, that was clear offensive pass interference. And if they're on the road or if a lesser quarterback is throwing that ball to them, I think that changes the game and is a possible loss for you guys.
Bodie, I think you're referring to yourself as the objective gambler, which is also the title of the rom-com that you sent me the other night. But no, totally. It's just fumbles are just such a massive, like high leverage mistake, right? So if you do it, it can negate so much production just because of how volatile and how penal it is, right? Like he was literally going to score, and then instead Dallas has the ball, right? Like it's such a gigantic shift in the actual tenor of the game and how everything works, right? So too bad. He looked good, obviously. But those mistakes when they happen turnovers are just killer. They're just such a massive part of football, and they just eat momentum, literally take points off the board, and I think we're good with Godwin. I mean, I totally agree with you. That was pass interference for sure. But as a receiver and everything, he looked good. They looked good. Brown and Godwin. You just need 2 and Evans. But if 2 of those 3 are going and look really fresh and sharp, like good luck. Like that's going to be hard to stop.
Yeah, you just need 2 or 3, and then the receivers behind them are still super good too. We just can't get them on the field. Richie 0665 on YouTube mentioning that if Godwin would have scored, we'd be very pleased. I'm not going to repeat the comment because there is a insinuation that's maybe we won't have up on the screen. But let me just say this: I agree. It's true because I want my receiver to have that mentality that he's trying to get in, and it sucks that the ball popped out. but I do like that. Like thinking back to that Mike Evans score last year, I forget where they playing. You know where he like drags those guys? I think they were playing the Rams. It was the Rams.
Yeah. No, the Saints.
Was it
Was
the
it the
Saints?
Rams or the Saints?
He probably did it a couple times.
Yeah,
He
the
did.
one it was from like the 11.
He got Lattimore really bad, and I think he got Ramsey as well too. But yeah, it probably happened twice, to be honest.
But the one it was like from the 11-yard line. So just in response to you, Rich, I don't disagree with you. I think we probably would be there would be a lot less complaints if that fumble didn't happen. But also, football is a game where you are defined by what happens in those moments, and that was the Rams.
It's the big
But
momentum play. Like it just
it's
is.
basically two. That what I'm getting at here. It's two mistakes from Godwin on an otherwise phenomenal game.
Yeah,
I love Chris Godwin. He lowers his shoulder going out of bounds on a defensive back to set up that second touchdown from Gronk. It was so sweet. Like I love watching him play. But
he's tough, yeah.
Late in the game,
go.
Late in the game, you have the fumble, and then you have a clear offensive pass interference that doesn't get called. Those two plays go the way that they most likely should have gone. And you're just like, how did this happen? Right? Like, how did we lose this game to the Cowboys? We're clearly a better team.
Yeah.
But there's two really bad plays from Godwin. But he only got punched for one.
A lot of turnovers, like, you know, from the Lenny to the Rojo to the Godwin. I mean, that's 3 unforced turnovers, right? Completely avoidable turnovers. They should not even be close to being turned over, let alone like not a successful play. So I don't think that like, and I'm not just saying this to appease Barry Gould on Facebook, who's just writing in that the Dallas defender said that it could have gone either way, because I do agree. Like, you know, Chad Johnson on Twitter said that is absolutely not offensive PI. He doesn't even extend his arm all the way, similar to how a defender in the post in basketball, you're allowed, there's going to be some contact. He didn't throw him. The momentum of the player combined with his hand being there, I think, is what made it look more like, especially on the replay. But I really don't think he launched him. I think it was just a combination of where his hand was. Yeah, it was on him with his arm bent, and the player's momentum taking him in that same direction, where it made it look a little more potentially offensive pass interference-y than it was.
Yeah.
But, you know, who knows? Maybe I'm a little biased. I don't know.
Oh, fair. No, you?
Yeah.
So what do you think?
It wasn't like egregious, but I think it was I think it was on Godwin. But it wasn't like, oh my God, he suplexed him and then caught the ball. But yeah. You know,
it wasn't like Rams on the Saints, that
exactly.
NFC Championship game, but it still was. It was there for me. I can't think about that game without thinking about that play and a no call where I thought they could have easily seen a flag. But what do you think for next week?
Yeah, what for the Falcons?
Well, yeah.
Is that like the Bucs Falcons?
Yeah, it must be the Bucs Falcons. Certainly, just pull it up.
I think like the Falcons obviously just got completely worked in by the Eagles, right? Like, that's who. So
32-6.
Like, they're going to be worse than I thought. Almost the Eagles or the Falcons. I mean,
I think Tampa's favored by 2 touchdowns in the game. Like that is. I honestly, I didn't see a single play of Philly Atlanta. I was planning to watch it, and then it just got out of hand, and I felt like I didn't really need to flip over. But that couldn't have gone well. Like, lost by 26 at home with fans like that. I don't know. Did you guys see any? Bo, did you see any of it?
Yeah, I was watching a little bit of it. Like, I was watching with the Keenan. I was trying to watch their offense quite a bit because I had Kyle Pitts pretty early on. I told Colin to take Kyle Pitts.
Isn't it so funny how you tend to watch the games that you have money on? It's like it's so random how that works. Yeah,
and only watch the segment of the game that I'm concerned with because it's the Eagles. I think everybody saw our NFC East preview, or anyone that did would say, we did not have high hopes for the Eagles and the Falcons, who are like losing Julio Jones. Maybe you're going to be good. Maybe we see this big breakout from Calvin Ridley, but not surprised by that. Not super surprised by that outcome. The thing with that game was you just never felt like the Falcons had the ball. I don't even know if I can look up the time of possession, but it really felt like they just were constantly playing on defense. Yeah.
What I read after, it was like a epic dink and dunk fest from Jalen Hurts and the Eagles, just keeping the ball, but then scoring too, right? Like finishing off drives, and then a couple turnovers from Atlanta, and there's only so many possessions in an NFL game. You know what I mean? Like you can't get too far behind. It's not college where the clock stops after every first down and you can make big comebacks. It's just not the way it goes, right? So if Philly was moving the ball effectively, then I don't know. Like this could get ugly next week for Atlanta.
Yeah, with that said though, I feel like the divisional games, the NFC South, like we were pretty quick to kind of I don't think I was on it, but we were pretty quick to write off this division. Obviously the Saints, we'll probably get to the Saints a little bit later, but I feel like the Falcons just always have a good game against the Bucs out of the two that they'll play a year. I don't know if it's going to be this week, just from what we saw from against the Eagles last week, but I don't know. How are you feeling going into that game, Boo?
I'll tell you one guy who always has a big game against the Bucs for the Falcons, and his name is Calvin Ridley.
Yeah.
And obviously being down a defensive back, that Sean Murphy Bunting injury, by the way, I forgot to mention. I don't know. Did you guys see the clip of it?
Yes.
Yeah, I saw the replay. Yeah, it was not fun.
Did you see the one on like the really zoomed in one? Like it's a bad injury. Like there's like a bone popping through his skin.
Yeah, you could tell even from the zoomed out one, you could see it.
So he's on the IR now. Apparently, like Pro Football Doc, I'm sure you guys follow him on Twitter. He's like he used to be the team medic for the Chargers, so he's got like professional football specific experience as a doctor.
Is he the one who stabbed Tyrod?
No. He was way before that. He diagnosed the potential injury ramifications in real time on Twitter. That's what he does. It's actually awesome. It's a great corner. He has just an angle. He is cornered on Twitter because he's even branched in other sports because he's like, I'm not afraid to speculate. I'll tell you based on what I see, what I think, how long they'll be out, what it is. So definitely follow Pro Football Doc. But he's somehow saying after I see this video of bone popping out of his elbow, Sean Murphy Bunting, that is, he's saying that he thinks he could be back in 3 to 4 weeks. So I'm like, what?
I'm not shocked though. Like, I feel like defensive players play through the most ridiculous injuries because they're just not expected to catch the ball. So they just need to be there. Like, as long as your legs work and you can wave your arms, like
Thomas Davis
with his club.
Thomas Davis in Carolina, didn't he have a broken forearm? And I can't remember who they were playing. It was like, he basically just had a club on his arm now. Like that just helped him even more. Like he's fine. It doesn't even matter. Like a broken forearm. It's crazy.
Yeah, just cast him up, send him out there. DB's a little different maybe, but yeah, it is crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, Ridley only had 51 yards receiving on 5 receptions against the Eagles. So he's definitely due for a big game. And like I said, he always plays us tough. Seeing Matt, like I didn't watch the game, but Matt Ryan, 21 for 35 for 164 yards. Boy, if the writing's not on the wall, it's on the wall. He needs to have a big bounce back game. They just seeing Josh Rosen playing soon.
Yeah. Well, it's not going to matter. Like the quarterback doesn't matter. They cannot block. The thing that I was noticing was just like there's no time for Kyle Pitts to even turn his head around to get the ball because Matt Ryan's already running for his life. So if he's running towards Hayden Hurst's side, Hayden Hurst is getting the ball. If he's running towards Kyle Pitts' side, Kyle Pitts is getting the ball. They have no idea what's going on from an offensive lineman standpoint. I think Scott sent to our group chat today of Jake Mayfield basically coming out pre-draft saying, if you don't want your quarterback hit, take me. And
Mayfield, Michigan's finest.
Matt Ryan looks like a corpse on the field. Like, he could not look like more lifeless. It was unbelievable.
With Mayfield in the shot as well, too. Just
Mayfield in the shot and the picture beside it with the tweets. Oh, I was like dying. Holy like that's good. That's good stuff there.
Best tweet in a while, that one.
Yeah, really good stuff.
That's really good.
But yeah, like I'm expecting it to be an absolute massacre. Like if you ask me, I would take over the -13 for the Bucs in that game. I mean, I hope so. Like I don't know. That's just how I see it. I'm not trying to be overly arrogant about the team, but I just think Bucs coming off a tight game. They're going to be at home again. I think they're really going to do some work, and I don't think, like you just alluded to, that Atlanta offensive line is going to be able to withstand the pressure that the front seven is going to bring on that offensive line. I think Bowles is just going to go ape on them.
12 and a half.
And
I just checked. Sorry. I think it was.
And you've got a ton of like, if you needed some material, something to motivate these guys, like Bruce Arians has all the tape he could possibly ask for this week, right? So obviously, like Brady alluded to it in the post game, very sloppy out there, offensively and defensively. I think if you want to send a message out to the NFC, like go after the Falcons and just make an embarrassment of them.
Another home game too. Like just go and win like 35-14 or something. You know what I mean? Like I don't like to lay that many points in general in an NFL game, but I don't. They look good. I like their situation for this week.
Yeah, definitely not looking at the Panthers to cover at least on the road. But I think I don't even want to talk that much about that game at this point. I would rather, because we're fresh off the first NFL Sunday of the year, I want to talk about some other headlines or storylines or themes that jumped out at you guys this past Sunday. One for me that I found pretty cool was just the top-notch rookie receivers, first three receivers taken in the NFL draft, Jamar Chase, Jalen Waddle, and Devontae Smith, Rondell Moore, even like those top-end receivers were very productive right away. Happiest for Jamar Chase because I've been so like outlandishly optimistic about him.
Yeah.
He was
awesome.
And then all the talk of the drops, and I wasn't even worried about it. And then sure enough, like he just comes out with a bang.
Yeah.
He scared me for sure. I was not expecting him to just bounce back like mentally. It seemed like there was something wrong with him. Talking about he can't see the ball or the ball not having the white lines on it was
on the ball.
Yeah. All I can see is I just never heard any receiver talk like that before. But
you know what? It's just modern day media though, man, and how they show you the snippet of the press conference. Because if you watch the whole press conference, they're asking him like differences between the NFL and college. And then he goes on to say like he did like the white ball or whatever. So like it's just funny how we all can fall for that at times. But fair enough, Bo. There was a lot coming out of Cincinnati from their beat reporters about all his drops in the preseason did look bad. I get it, but he's just too good. He's gonna be great.
Yeah, I hope so.
But the whole crop of them, man, like Waddle was fantastic. I didn't watch any of the Eagles game either, but it seems like Devontae Smith had a role.
Yeah. First drive of the game, he catches a touchdown pass. So Devontae Smith looks good. Also, just on that same line on the Eagles side, Jalen Reagor scored and just kind of trying to redeem himself from the whole Justin Jefferson comparisons. But yeah, I was surprised to see all of the rookie wide receivers kind of show out,
except Elijah Moore. But
Elijah Moore and also Kadarius Toney. Not as many snaps, but just 2 catches for -2 yards. I'm pretty sure. So
yeah, that's not good.
No. But you got to be patient with him, and like. He's playing with Daniel Jones and obviously Elijah Moore is playing with a rookie quarterback in his first start. So speaking of rookie quarterbacks, Trevor Lawrence put up some yards in his debut, but the Jaguars losing to the Texans. Like I would have taken the under on Texans wins as long as it was above 0.5, I think.
Yeah.
And sure enough, Texans are 1-0, baby.
They're leading the division.
They're a playoff team.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Hey, I mean, I think they played pretty well. I really thought Jacksonville was going to suck, like really be bad. And I saw some people throwing out 8 and 9, and hey, who knows? One game, maybe they'll get there. They looked bad. Houston looked, who knows? Okay, they were playing for the coach for sure. Tyrod has a certain talent level combined with just experience and veteran leadership that he's been in the league for so long, and they outplayed him and they won. Lawrence had some outstanding throws and some brutal picks, right? So just some brutal decisions. I think that's probably going to be the first part of this season for him. We're going to see the flashes, and then we're going to see the fact that it's very hard to play quarterback in the NFL, and it's going to come through via him. But yeah, Houston 1-0. Hart didn't think those words would be coming out of our mouths here, boys, on this pod. But yeah, tough scene for that division. Really, we can Tennessee getting the absolute doors blown off of that Arizona game. That game was over early. I don't know how much of you saw that, but it looked like a different league, like an NFL team, but it was a college team. It was an absolute beatdown from the start.
Big shout out to Chandler Jones, the 5 sacks and 2 strip fumbles, 2 turnovers. That guy is a freak, and he is unbelievably good at football.
Yeah,
Murray, Kyler was amazing.
Yeah, video game.
They did everything they could to stop Henry and get the lead, because when you get the lead on Tennessee, then Tannehill's capable, but he's not as dangerous as Henry, I would say, when you know that he has to throw, making them one-dimensional. I think Henry ended up with like 49 yards or something like that on the ground, AKA one of his worst games in a few years, I would imagine. Yeah. Just super impressive from Arizona. And then another NFC West team goes in with Seattle to Indianapolis, and never in doubt. That game was also never in doubt. Wilson was dealing out there.
Did you watch any of that game? Like, what are the give me the outlook on our boy Carson Wentz. That's sarcastic for anyone who hasn't been followers of the show. This is the Carson Wentz slander cast. Sometimes.
Yeah.
10 points is generous.
The outlook in my work email is not good. He was struggling, man. Not comfortable. He just looks like he lost it. Like, in not much of a difference. I don't know. If he's their guy, I don't think they have much. I don't think they don't scare me at all.
It almost feels like he makes offensive lines worse, because the Colts offensive line was one of a really good unit last year, at least for the first half of the year. I'm pretty sure they were good all year, honestly, but not a lot of time to throw the ball. Seattle's defensive front all of a sudden looks like a legitimate one. So if Seattle's a good defense and they have Russ dealing the way that he is, I know he always starts the year like this. That could be a really extremely good team. They could easily win the division again. That
division though,
it's really good. It's really good. Well,
it's
okay.
So good.
So I think I don't know if I was on the preview for that one, but I was definitely thinking the Cardinals would be the worst team in that division. And I don't feel that way anymore. I think if you watch the Niners game, that was shocking to see that they were that was an 8-point game. I turned that one off after the first half. But yeah, it seems like that division's kind of up in the air, and they're just going to beat the hell out of each other, which I guess everybody assumed, but
yeah.
Holy.
How about Trey Sermon not being the guy? Mozart got hurt. And then Trey Sermon wasn't even
just scratched. And same with Brandon Ayuk.
See, this is why fantasy
scratch.
What?
This is why fantasy football is the worst. This is why it's the worst. How are you supposed to pick a running back?
I know.
There are 6 running backs that are going to get the ball. Then what else are you supposed to do? Fucking get your crystal ball out and hope that you pick the right guy. It's such a joke.
Scott, tons of people handcuffed Mozart and Trey Sermon, just assuming then they're at least going to get whoever runs away with the job. And now we got Eli Mitchell running for 19 carries for 104 yards and a score. They're
of course,
6th round pick.
Oh, of course. Should have seen the Eli Mitchell thing coming from San Fran. What are we doing? It's so frustrating.
Yeah, why aren't these head coaches considering us fantasy degenerate managers?
Yeah, it's like they don't even care. It's like they don't even care.
We're the degeneral managers.
Yeah, that's unfortunately true. But yeah, what a pain. But yeah, Bo. Sorry, just getting back to that game. I watched most of the first half, and Detroit looked okay. And then all of a sudden, it's 41-17 or whatever they pushed the score to. It's what the heck? What happened?
Just gets out of hand so fast, yeah. Deebo Samuel's just running all over the field wherever he wants.
Deebo had 189 yards, I think. Absolute mutant out there. He looked great. Weird game. Detroit's going to be bad.
33 points, though. They did put up 33 on the Niners. That's crazy. But yes, I'm not disputing that they're going to be bad. Let me make that very clear. Swift looked awesome. He had 8 catches, I'm seeing, for 65 and a score.
Swift was really good. Yeah,
but now
they couldn't tackle him.
Now Detroit goes to Green Bay this week. Like, I don't know.
Speaking of Green Bay, we got to talk Aaron Rodgers because the yoga instructor walks into the building after this leisurely off season in Hawaii, the talk of the town, like, you know what I'm saying? And then he walks in and gets steamrolled by Jameis Winston and the New Orleans Saints.
In Jacksonville, by the way. So they weren't even playing in the Dome. It was just a bizarre game. I watched the whole first half and then the first drive of the second half, and Rodgers threw that pick at about the 5 or 6 yard line, and the game was over. You could tell it was over. Who would have thought that maybe the Packers wouldn't be completely in sync after the quarterback, just didn't play football? I thought he was so good that it wouldn't even matter. I just have the utmost respect for Rodgers, but New Orleans, they kicked the absolute shit out of them. They just did. Like, it was super impressive from their standpoint.
The only thing I think that's worth mentioning is I feel like Rodgers has one of these games every year. Like, I feel like it was even like against the Bucs. You could argue last year it was against Tampa where they just lit him up. It just happened. Maybe it just happens to be week 1 this year. Who knows? But you're right. I didn't expect it either.
But the crazy thing is, so they're going down. They're in the red zone when Rodgers throws that pick. It's 17-3. Score there, and despite the fact that you haven't played well, it's 17-10 with like 9 minutes left in the third. You're still somehow in the game. As soon as they threw that pick, the game's over. New Orleans goes and scores 24-3. It's just not happening. And then they look like they threw in the towel the rest of the game. But not crisp at all. Jameis somehow throws for 5 touchdowns and less than 200 yards. How is that even possible? But weird.
It's Jameis. Anything is possible.
Hey, well, fair enough. But 38-3, man. Like, I'm thinking the worst case scenario for the Packers going into that game is like a 10-point loss.
Yeah.
Right? Like, they don't look that sharp, but you still have Aaron Rodgers, and it's like 31-21. They looked awful.
The Saints could have run it up a little bit more on that too. Also, the Saints defense, for a team that lost a lot of guys on that side of the ball, they actually looked pretty good as well too. So I know the Packers didn't really show up, but the Saints played well.
But
I'm wondering. Go ahead. No, Lattimore's still there.
No, one of their good DBs got hurt.
Oh, did he get hurt in the game?
Yeah, like later in the game. Brutal. I think he's out for the year.
Yeah,
sorry,
rough.
I should have looked that up. But anyway, that's a pretty significant result. I think you would bet that Green Bay bounces back this week and handles Detroit relatively easy. But we shall see.
Sorry, I'm just looking at the injury because it's all over the place, but I'm seeing Saints get brutal injury news on Marshawn Lattimore after a record-breaking extension.
Yeah,
so I think it is Lattimore.
It is Lattimore. Yeah, that's rough.
Whoa, crazy.
Yeah, I didn't keep an eye on that game after.
And he just signed a huge deal,
like $96 million or something like that.
Yeah, like 65 guaranteed or something. Not good for their chances against the Bucs. I know that.
That's for sure.
Yeah,
and as much as Marshawn Lattimore is like enemy number 1 for a lot of Bucs fans, you'd rather him be on the field. You'd rather Mike Evans get some revenge on the field when they match up.
Yeah.
And if you haven't noticed, I think we're doing a good job of just discussing some of the potential contenders for the Bucs this year because we still consider them to be right up there. Chiefs Browns was a really cool game. Well, it was cool. I was cheering for the Browns. I like the Browns to come out of that division this year. Division. Yeah. Out of that division this year. And they obviously seems like they played a perfect game. And then Baker, like, did you guys see that on that drive? Like, did you see that?
So, like, I would try to, so I saw a lot of pundits today saying that Baker Mayfield, lost some faith in Baker Mayfield out of that game. I thought the Browns played an awesome game. They made three horrible mistakes, but they played extremely well.
It sounds like the Bucs game, the exact same, except the 3 horrible mistakes they weren't able to overcome. Like, it easily could happen to the Bucs.
You couldn't.
Yeah,
so the first half of that game, they were doing everything you're supposed to do to beat the Chiefs. Like, they're testing them down the field. They're just absolutely hounding them on defense, not making any mistakes on that side of the ball, and getting a lot of pressure on Mahomes with Garrett and Jadeveon Clowney as well. But yeah, Nick Chubb has a fumble, really bad fumble. It's like 22-17. Their punter, the first time they bring their punter in, the first punt that they have, he fumbles on the snap and gives a short field to Mahomes. It's obviously 7 points. They could have just put the 7 points as soon as the fumble happened. And then the Baker Mayfield interception at the end. And I think everybody's like zoning in on that because it's the last one. They could have, if they could move the ball on that series, they could possibly win the game.
They already were moving the ball. They
were moving the ball. And they were really like, it's pretty clear if you watch the pick, he's trying to get it out of play. He's trying to throw it out of bounds, and he gets tackled and like basically just has no power on the throw because of the hit he takes. And it's a super tough scene for him, but I thought the Browns, I feel better about the Browns coming out of that game because they were step in step with the Chiefs. Anthony Schwartz looks so good. And Joe
I talked about Schwartz a lot as that rookie DB or that rookie receiver.
Fast.
Yeah,
he's extremely fast. He's like Tyreek Hill fast. He's a game breaker.
This is what the Chiefs do. They just hang around. They just make 1 or 2 plays on defense, and that's all they need. Cleveland, listen, they're not going to be happy that they lost the game, but if that's their chief competition, for 85% of that game, they had a great game plan and knew that they could go in there at Arrowhead and compete, not only compete, but win. They ran the ball at will. A couple bad mistakes eliminated later in the season. If they get a rematch, they can win the game. OBJ didn't play.
Yeah.
Also,
very encouraging for Cleveland. I mean, even though
I think it looks good. Kareem Hunt was awesome that game too. Kareem Hunt, underrated how well he played as well.
It's just so hard to actually beat Kansas City.
So much pressure.
You can hang and you can play well. And look at all these good things we did. But they just stroll into 35 points, right? And that's just a lot of pressure on your offense to keep up. And any turnover in a limited, and that's the other thing, because they were running the ball so well. Cleveland was, their drives were very long and limiting the amount of possessions in the game. Right?
They did everything right.
Yeah.
So. You would have I'm sure you saw it, but the first. I think they went for a 4th and 3 on their first drive.
Yes.
They score the touchdown, go for 2 points, send a huge message right away. I loved everything the Browns did to this week.
Well, because 3 points does nothing for you against Kansas City.
Exactly.
And this will lead perfectly into a Pittsburgh-Buffalo conversation. But go 4th and 3 from the 15. Go for it. You're down there. Go for it. They went for 2 strictly because Kansas City jumped offside, and it was now a 2-point conversion from the 1. Better percentage to get an extra point on the board, right? And now Kansas City has to chase the score a little bit. I loved what they did. And, I'm not a huge run guy in general, but, they were carving them up. You have Nick Chubb. He was going untouched. Keep going, and they kept doing it.
One of the biggest holes I've ever seen in an NFL.
Yeah, and it was great to watch because they were taking the crowd out of the game, all those cliches, but it was super effective. And hey, they're good. I mean, it'll super interesting now to see what Baltimore does. Kind of not as a response, but just to compare the two teams who I think are a rung ahead of Pittsburgh on that AFC North ladder. But we'll get that pretty soon. Actually, the Raiders Ravens. But yeah, it's a super interesting game. I mean, Mahomes, fantastic. Kelsey, unbelievable. I think their defense is worrisome, but is it worrisome that it takes them out of contention? I don't think so, because I think they're in every game. But
they
really
move.
cool.
The one thing, a big shout out to the Chiefs defensively was Chris Jones moving to defensive end. It's been interior rusher for the past 2 years, but moving outside, and he got a ton of pressure on Baker, especially as that game went on.
Great.
Steve Spagnuolo has been an underrated defensive coordinator in the league for a long time.
Have you been underrated or properly rated?
I haven't heard him discussed as some like elite defensive coordinator. To be honest, I've heard of him as a head coach who's been fired and couldn't hack it as a head coach.
But I think sorry, I'm not trying to get into a Steve Spagnuolo thing. I think he was one of those classics. It's like, just because you're a coordinator, then the next logical step is head coach, but he's clearly a coordinator, like by trade kind of thing. And he probably never should have been a head coach, but anyway, he's good.
He's still a great defensive coordinator.
I know you're saying he's good.
Yeah. Now, because I want us to kind of lead right into Monday Night Football, so we'll hit on that a couple games. A couple of the other teams I want to just briefly hit on. I mean, Stafford made his debut for the Rams last night, and he completed more deep post pattern completions than Goff did all last year within the first 2 series of the game. That's a fact, actually.
That was so, like, as someone who's like kind of taken a little bit of an interest in the Rams, that was like a night and day experience having Stafford back there. He is so good.
Yeah, Goff sucks.
Stafford
I agree.
Is so good. Yeah.
Stafford's really good. I'm happy for Stafford. I'm just happy for him.
Man.
Yeah. They showed his wife at one point
out there.
Yeah. They showed his wife at one point during the broadcast, and I'm sitting there watching it with my wife, and I was like, this is literally like we're moving from Detroit to LA. Like, this is an unbelievable, like, she could not be more happy.
She's just high-fiving people.
Literally, like, they kept the camera on her for a little while. She's having one conversation, all smiles. She walks down the stands for a little bit, just another high five, talking to another person, just having the time of her life. Brand new stadium in LA. Yeah.
The lip readers picked up, and the beach is right there. She just kept saying that, like, she's over and over.
She's like, I don't even have to boil my water here.
Yeah, for sure.
And thankfully, because Brent Mussenberger wasn't doing the game, we were able to keep it wholesome in terms of coverage, right?
Oh yeah, except for it was Al Michaels. So thank God there wasn't a hot mic. But yeah.
One more thing on the Rams. Jalen Ramsey is moving all over the field on defense, and it is a treat to watch because he's just blowing up plays left and right. He is one of the best defenders in the league. Only guy I would take over him probably is the guy that's on his team already, Aaron Donald. Jalen Ramsey is going to be a problem for a lot of defenses. They have so many looks.
Well said. They legit very well could have the 2 best defensive players in football. I worry about their depth on that side of the ball because if there's one injury, then they're in trouble potentially. And I mean, they let the Bears squeak in, and the Bears weren't even playing good, and they were still hanging around a little bit. I know they weren't, but they were. Like, I was watching.
They were.
I was watching it with Chip, with big Chris Buke. Shout out to our resident Bears friend. It was a dad sweet game.
Nice.
So that was cool. He wanted more fields. Shocker. He wanted to see more fields.
Can't imagine why.
Yeah. No kidding.
You have anything else?
Can we talk just quickly? I watched all of Bills Steelers.
Yeah, me too.
Man.
Lay into them.
Unimpressive on both sides. Although, sorry, I shouldn't say that. In general, I would say unimpressive. The Steelers' defense looked really good. I really liked how they were super physical with the receivers. So even though we love Stephon Diggs, it's tough for him to get separation. Like, he's not a huge guy. You know what I mean? Allen looked inaccurate. He looked a little bit frazzled. They didn't look good. Ben looked terrible. Like, the fact that they won the game was just in spite of him, not because of him. But so it's 10-3 late in the third quarter for Buffalo. Pittsburgh marches the ball down the field. Finally. They hadn't done it all game, right? Like, literally.
Super lucky the way they did it too.
Yeah.
Just felt like no idea what was going to happen play to play.
Great catch by Claypool on the sideline there. He's unbelievable. They kick a field goal down by 7 with like a minute and a half left in the third. I think it was 4th and goal from the 2. So the shortest field goal you can kick. Like, it's just I know the argument from Mike Tomlin is the Steelers have never gone below 500 since he's been the coach, and they're always it's like, but dude, if you're not figuring this out now, like I feel like those records are just because you have good players, which is, whatever, a testament. He took the Steelers job. Good for him. But and then the other killer is that they win the game. So it's like, it's going to go down as the right decision. It's such a poor decision, and they somehow sneak out this game because of Buffalo's terrible, second half
Yeah.
more than
It was
whole game.
a big vote on his defense. That's the only way I could even come to understand
Yeah.
what he could possibly be thinking there.
But they haven't scored yet. So
Exactly.
you're still giving the Buffalo the ball with the lead. It's just
Yeah.
what's your goal? What's a better chance to score a touchdown based on how the game has gone? One shot from the 2-yard line or trying to move it another 80 yards next time you get the ball back? It's just it's so insane. And if you're a rational Steelers fan, you can't. Hey, great job. You got to win against theoretically a good team, but you can't think that the Steelers are any good. Not after the way last year ended, and then watching Big Ben this year, like that first game. No way.
There's no margin for error for their defense.
They don't scare me at all. At all.
Their offensive line is so bad. Like, it does not make sense. Once they play a team with a very good pass rush, that I just can't see how they're ever going to move the ball, because they cannot run the ball.
It's literally
running into the Bills.
It's a completely new unit just because they had so many valuable guys leave that offensive line unit. And I saw, so I didn't see the game. I yesterday was probably the only Sunday where I had stuff going on. And the Bucs played on Thursday, so it was able to work out. But I saw Big Ben completed like one pass over 14 yards or something obscene. I don't want to fact, but like, I guess his ability to throw the ball downfield was just
like air yards. Yeah, air yards. Air yards. Yeah, low. Yeah, there's no way.
Every dump off to Najee Harris was like at his shoulder, like he was trying to go high glove side or something. It was unreal. Like, just give him the ball.
Yeah. But he had zero time. Like, he had someone in his face at all times. He was always outside of the pocket. He could not do anything with that offensive line.
That's fair, Bo. But if he can't dump the ball off effectively, then good night, right?
I want to make a point about that, Scott, because I'm glad you brought that up. A simple screen pass, a swing pass, whatever, is so important for it to be accurate. It's like hitting a 3-point shooter in basketball right in their shooting pocket. It is so important. So yeah, you could get the ball there, but Brady is a master of getting it to them in the perfect area to turn upfield. LeBron James is the king of getting it to guys in their shooting pocket. Yeah. Like the real great ones, like the accuracy is more important than I think most people realize. So that is important. It is important still.
It's one thing I want a few bets based on my not having a lot of faith in the Bills, and then also say, okay, this Steeler defense is really good. I was shocked for two sides. So TJ Watt moving all over the field. I love that. Obviously just said that about Jalen Ramsey. He's moving into linebacker. They're shifting the line before snaps as much as the offense was. They were really good. Melvin Ingram was extremely good. He looked super explosive for a guy who missed a ton of time for the Chargers last year. And then in the secondary, their secondary was really good. That won the game for them basically. Some of the passes they defended, I can't remember Sutton's the guy's name. He was absolutely all over the Bucs. The Bills wide receivers. Every matchup he had, he basically won. I was very impressed with their secondary.
Bill's receiving group outside of Stephon Diggs is potentially a concern, I think.
It is. You know what? Gabriel Davis looked good at points. He came up a little limp on one of the time after one of the plays he got tackled on. But yeah, it's not a great group. Emmanuel Sanders was kind of a deep threat early on, but faded later on in the game when they could have used him. Cole Beasley was just out there being unvaccinated and not really talking about anything else, trying to catch the ball or anything. But other than that,
he can catch COVID, but he can't catch a football.
Yeah, he was very willing to take the coverage.
From Sports Talk Radio. I stole that.
Yeah. So
one of my buddies,
I'm not worried about their wide receivers a ton. Yeah.
One of my buddies' fantasy football names or team name is Cole Beasley, MD, and I just think that's pretty good.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, that's really good.
Speaking of fantasy football, boys, I have I'm coming into tonight. He's all done, all his guys. I'm down by less than 1 point, and I have Josh Jacobs.
And he just get hurt?
He just left with an injury, and I have Kenyon Drake, and I was debating who to play because Jacobs was sick coming into the game and might not play. Anyway, so I could lose by like 0.6 because if Jacobs gives me a 0. Anyway, just a little self-pity.
Well, that sucks.
airing it out. That's welcome to fantasy football. But
Yeah.
so for tonight, I mean, I know we all were on board with actually looking at the Raiders. What was it? What was this line? +4, +3.5?
It was
4.
four, yeah.
It got down to 3.5 just before kick. I saw.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So
Yeah, so I mean, we'll see what happens. I have serious concerns about the Ravens this year. Poor team has been decimated,
Yeah.
especially at the running back position, and then Marcus Peters.
Yeah, nobody's talking about Marcus Peters enough. Him being
man.
off, like that secondary. I know they're just known for their defense, but Marcus Peters not being there is going to be a big hit. That's going to show up sometime of this year.
Yeah, so the Ravens are in a tough spot. I think it's the Browns' year, but we'll see what happens. I mean, we don't have to outlook the whole season. We've already done that. I'm just speaking generally here.
One more shout out before we get going. Cam Newton. I really want Cam Newton to have a little reunion with Riverboat Ron. Now that I think they said 6 to 8 weeks for Fitzmagic
his hip,
with
right?
the hip injury.
Oh.
Yeah, hip injury. So yeah, it seems like it's a storybook ending for Cam to just go back and have a big year with Washington.
If only he could respect his immune compromised former head coach and mentor, right? And
that's probably the biggest hurdle of this whole thing is that he's not too kind to the COVID restrictions.
Well, just get Cole Beasley in on the group chat between the three of them and just hash it out, like he's been doing. So I don't see the issue.
No doubt.
All right. Anything else you boys want to hit on about this game, this Monday Night Football game that's already underway, or are we good?
Just an interesting game. Like the Raiders are playing in Vegas, the new state, like the stadium, kind of their first real home game. Lamar Jackson. Like we're about to wrap up here. I'm pumped to go watch tonight. And it was a fun week, and I really missed it. And I'm really glad that we can just sit here and, shoot the shit about it for the last hour and a bit. And it was awesome. I can't wait till next week.
Seriously, there's nothing like wasting a Sunday on your couch watching NFL football. So, and just constantly worrying about your little bets that are not that much money, but they feel like it's all the money in the world.
You want to win them. You want to.
Exactly.
Always. And it's never a waste, Bodan. Maybe a waste of money.
Maybe
a waste of money, but never a waste of time.
It's very true. Very true.
All right. Thanks for tuning in, folks. It's been real as always. We will be back at you next Monday. Same time, same place. Hope to see you there. We'll have plenty of new content and NFL news to discuss, especially as it relates to your Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And have a good night. Enjoy Monday Night Football.